Can we just have the courage to do whatever we can do today? Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Let's just focus on right fucking now. What can you do right now to progress to where you want to progress? And honestly, maybe it's just telling your inner thoughts to shut the fuck up for 2 seconds. You ever in that spot where you're just spiraling and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going, and you're like, okay, we just need a moment to stop. How do I find that courage for the things that I can change in my life? Is there something you feel in your gut that you know you need to do right now that you're just not doing? What is that? We all have something. Okay, got it? Now what's stopping you? What's stopping you?
Welcome to the Derelict Podcast. For the disparaged, depleted, and delinquent souls trying to find our way, we're talking about the scary part of the journey, where we don't know how it'll end. Let's be free to face our fucking failures in real time as the most unadulterated, truest version of who we are. No sugarcoating. Welcome to the shit show, you derelict.
Welcome to another episode of the Derelict Podcast, a continuation. I even wore the same shirt. I even wore the same shirt. This is 2.0. Last week we talked about the fucking 1.0 and how to get rid of that guy or that gal or that whatever. And this week we're going to talk about what does that look like moving into 2.0. So last time we talked about 1.0, how to get rid of it, how to reform it, how to revise it, how to change it. Is that possible? Or if it's not possible, goodbye 1.0, welcome 2.0. So before we get started, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I'd encourage you to do so now because I think it's a good setup for this week. Up to you. You can completely listen to this on its own, but we did talk a lot about version 1.0. We talked about how I had failed lately, as usual. We talked about being a derelict, what this whole Derelict Podcast thing even means, and how that looks in our society. Why is it that we have such a hard time talking about failure real time? Why is that so difficult? Why is it so hard for us if we haven't achieved this level of success to talk about the difficult things that we are going through? Somebody sent me a note the other day about the podcast that I really appreciated. And he said, I think your secret sauce with this podcast is your vulnerability. Something to that effect. And I really, really appreciated that. I might actually ask him to come on the show in the future here. But it was really great. He basically said that he works with a lot of people. He works with a lot of men specifically, going through different challenging times in their lives. And he was saying that this space just doesn't exist. For whatever reason, in our society, it's even harder for guys to be vulnerable, for guys to be weak, for guys to be going through failure. I'm not saying it's not difficult for women. Don't hear that as a sexist comment. I'm just saying the way I was raised and the way I've seen culture, for whatever reason, it seems like it's less acceptable for a man to be vulnerable. I come from a family that has many generations of men being the strong ones, and they have to go do stuff and they have to get things done, etc. And because of that, there was just years and years and years, I think, of generations of guys that haven't been vulnerable. They don't know how to actually reach on the inside and put on the outside. So multi-generations of that for me now has led up to what I see with most of society, culture, myself, my friends, etc., where it's just hard for us to do that. So last week we talked about what it's like to be a derelict, what it's like to be the one that's actually going to be vulnerable and open up, the one that gets naked first, the ones that are tired, sick of all the success bullshit. Let's get past our insecurities and limiting beliefs, and let's talk about version 2.0. What does version 2.0 even look like? What sort of vulnerability does it need? How can we be in the midst of failure together? Welcome. Welcome to part 2 of this 2-part podcast episode. So before we jump in, however, and start talking about rebuilding, repairing, reforming, no, forget that, just on to 2.0. Before we do that, let's start with what we always start with, and that is, how have I failed lately? Well, always got to start with that. That's the whole point of this podcast, is to get vulnerable. You're not going to want to get vulnerable with me if I don't get vulnerable with you first. So, how have I failed lately? Well, when thinking about this topic specifically, letting go of 1.0 to move on to 2.0, I think that there's plenty of examples of how I've failed. There's definitely a part of me that when I know that change is right in my life and that this is the next thing that I need to do, and it's going to be the best thing for myself, my family, my kids, whoever, okay? And that's what this is for me right now, is getting this out there. Well, the way that I failed is that I have been lazy. You ever struggle with laziness? I definitely have. I know my goals. I know that I need to write for the podcast. I need to come up with an idea. I need to figure out if there's going to be a host or a guest on the episode. I need to make sure that I'm really being honest with the stuff I don't really want to talk about. And I know that I need to continue to write my book. And there's several other things. You don't need to know all the things that I need to do. But my point is, just even this last weekend, I was really excited to have a weekend basically to myself. Barely saw my kids, spent a little bit of time with my girlfriend, was really looking forward to just relaxing. And I did, and relaxing is good. And at the same time, I also found myself not doing things for this movement that I know would have been good, that would have been soul fulfilling, that really would have helped me. But I don't know about you, but sometimes there's a part of me that doesn't believe the soul fulfilling stuff, the stuff that is, hey, do this because this is really going to be good for you. Sometimes I don't believe that. And I let old patterns, I let old mindsets, I let old triggers in my brain tell me that something else is actually going to be better for me. Maybe I just need to watch Netflix and hang out for a little bit, or some other streaming service, right? I just need to chill. I need to eat snacks. I need to just take care of myself, etc. And at the end of the day, some of that wasn't very soul fulfilling, honestly. And I just feel like I kind of wasted some time. So that's me. So for me, walking into this episode today, talking about 2.0, this is not about shame, by the way. If you are coming here for shame, you're in the wrong place. This is where we can be honest and vulnerable about what we're going through, so as not to feel shame, but also to know, okay, well, what's going to be the next best step for me? How can I go to 2.0? Okay. So with that failure, let's dive into our topic. So is it ever just a time to give up and start over? So the very first thing that I would say is, this is yours to decide, just like it's mine to decide. Now, that doesn't mean we don't seek wise counsel. It doesn't mean that we don't look for people that have our best interests in mind to give us opinions and thoughts and everything else. But at the end of the day, this is up to you. Is your gut, are you learning that you really need to shed something and move on? But can you really ever start over? I mean, none of us can, right? But why are you doing it? Is it because somebody else is saying, hey, this is a good idea for you? Or is it because you really feel like it is? Okay, so again, if you're not watching this video that's being recorded and you're listening to this, as most people are, let me describe to you what my shirt says. So if you've been watching, you've noticed it for a while, and you're probably curious about what it says on the back. So I custom made this shirt. Well, I didn't make it. Thanks, Amazon. I had Amazon, somebody from Amazon, I don't remember who, this was years ago now at the point, custom make this shirt. Anyway, all that doesn't matter. The point is, here's what's on it. There is an icon of a skull and bones, kind of like a pirate flag, so to speak. And then underneath that, it says, the version of me you created in your mind. And then if you flip around to the back, which I'll do for the viewing pleasure of everyone that can see it, hopefully you can see this, It says is not my responsibility. So again, what it says is the version of me you created in your mind is not my responsibility. So what does that mean? That means that people can have whatever version of you, whatever narrative of you, whatever story of you that they want. You can't prevent that. I can't prevent that. None of us can prevent that, right? So why would we try? I mean, I don't know about you, but I've definitely tried several times from people that don't have what I would say is a good view of me, or maybe the view I want them to have of me. I try to change that all the time. But can you really change anybody's opinion of you? No, we can't. We can just act how we act, and they're going to decide whatever they want to decide about us. Why do I bring that up when the question is, am I beyond saving? What if my insecurities, and limiting beliefs are just too big? So why do I bring that up when the question is, what if my insecurities and limiting beliefs are just too big? Is there ever a time to just give up and start over? Well, again, we can't really start over. There's no such thing as starting over. But if we listen to ourselves and we realize, okay, it's time to move on to 2.0, the question then I think we need to address next is how? How do we move forward? So I'm fed up with all the success bullshit. I'm fed up with me being 1.0. I'm ready to move into 2.0. How is that possible? How do we move forward? Well, for me, I can only speak for myself, but for me, it's been trying to figure out, is this aspect of my life something that I should rebuild or repair or reform? So in other words, is this something I should rebuild, repair, reform, or is it something I need to kill or let die? Is this something in my life that's not all of me? It's just this part of my life. Is it worth rebuilding? Is it worth repairing? Is it worth reforming? Or do I just need to kill it and let it die? Now, on a previous episode, we talked a little bit about sometimes we wait too long to let things die or to kill them. Whether that is a business idea or just, I don't know, anything else. Obviously, we're not talking about people here. But is this idea or this aspect of me something that I just need to let wither away and die, or is it something that I should change? You could think of a lot of examples of this are in religion. There's been several times where somebody in some religious context, I'll keep it vague because it's happened in so many different religious contexts over the years, where somebody in some religious context decides, hey, I don't like what this religion or this church is doing right now. I'm going to try to reform it. I'm going to try to rebuild it. I'm going to try to redo it. I'm going to try to repair it. Somebody very popular for that in the Protestant Reformation was Martin Luther. He didn't think that the Catholic Church was evil. He just thought that it needed to be changed. It needed to be reformed. He was not trying to start some new religion or new sect. He was just trying to change it. He was trying to reform it. He was trying to rebuild it. Whether you agree with him or not, and whether you agree on whether it's right or not, is immaterial. The point is that's what he was trying to do. The same thing that happens in politics, in wars, in our country and other people's countries. It's happened since the beginning of time where somebody thinks, hey, this isn't where we want it to be, or it's not moral or whatever. It's not just. Let's reform it. Let's rebuild it. And then there are times where, frankly, that doesn't work. And we just need to kill it. We need to let it die. So how do we figure out the difference? Well, here's where my mind goes, and I'm hoping that this is helpful for you. This often reminds me of the Serenity Prayer. Have you heard it? So this was, I would say, made famous by, there's questions, if you do the research, we're not exactly sure where it came from, but YMCA or YWCA and 12-step groups are kind of the ones that kind of grabbed the torch and carried it. They weren't the ones that created it. It's often attributed to a old theologian from a long time ago, which, again, check the show notes. There'll be some information there if you want to look it up. But the point is, it doesn't really matter the origin. But what I would say matters is, let's just do the Serenity Prayer right now. I want to read it to you because I think, to me, it makes a lot of sense on how to move from 1.0 to 2.0. Now, if you're listening to this and you have any sort of religious baggage, just let that go for a second, okay? We're not going to get into religion here. Just let it go for a second and just listen to the words, okay? Here's the beginning of the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. One more time. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. So let's break that down. First of all, we're going to start with, maybe the most difficult word for a lot of you in that prayer, and that's the very beginning of the prayer, that word, God. We obviously could do a whole podcast on just that topic. I have plenty of religious trauma and baggage that I would love to chat about, and we will continue to do that. Stay tuned. We will definitely have more religious, topics on the podcast in the future because we're not supposed to talk about them. So why wouldn't we talk about that on a podcast where we're trying to figure out our failures together? Of course we would. It would be insane for us not to talk about that. But how about this? For now, here's what I'd encourage you to do. So maybe you're listening and you're like, yeah, I believe in a traditional, quote, God. Great. Then just use the word God. That's wonderful. If you don't believe in a traditional, quote, God, just replace the word. Whatever makes sense to you, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Other people that I've known that have said this prayer in the past have used higher power. Other people have used universe. Other people have used some sort of all-knowing heart or all-knowing mind or whatever. There's plenty of different terms that you could use. Just pick one that works for you, that doesn't have the baggage to it that maybe God does. Okay? But here's the gist. The gist here, and why we're talking about this as far as moving to 2.0 from 1.0, is that the gist is that there must be something higher or greater than us. Doesn't there? I mean, I'm of the opinion that we just can't be the pinnacle of the universe. Can we? I mean, frankly, if you think that we're the pinnacle of the universe and there's nothing else out there, again, it doesn't have to be a God, universe, whatever. But if you think that you are the pinnacle of the universe, let me just suggest and kindly have you consider that maybe you're a narcissist. Because I don't know how else you would think that you are the pinnacle of the universe unless your ego is as big as the biggest narcissist I've ever met. Maybe that was too extreme for you. I don't know. Okay, tell me I'm wrong. Send me a message. Tell me I'm wrong. But again, here's the point that I get to. Again, whether it's God, higher power, universe, whatever, the important part for me, at least, is that something is greater than me. I'll just speak for myself. That's important for me because I think that I need help from that thing or being or whatever to bring me peace and give me wisdom, as the saying or prayer suggests. Okay. The next part of the prayer says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change. Wow, that is loaded. So let's break that down. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change. Now, here's the other reason why I think that this is such a powerful quote or prayer, or whatever you want to call it, is that, again, we're asking something else outside of us to help us with something. Now, if I could grant my own serenity or my own peace, and I could do perfectly accepting the things I can't change, why would I ever need to ask anybody else for help? Wouldn't I already be perfect? Why would I even listen to this podcast? Why would I even consider any sort of failure that I'm in the middle of? Because I could already figure out that failure myself, right? Think about it for a second. Doesn't that make logical sense? If I could already have all the serenity in the world and I can accept all the things that I can't change in the world, I wouldn't need any sort of help. So why would I even be doing this podcast? So for me, that part is loaded. Here's, to me, again, let's go back to the original point. If I'm saying, fuck that guy, let him die, I need to move on from 1.0 to 2.0, How do I do that? Well, here's one of the parts of how I do that. I get granted the serenity or the peace to accept things I can't change. For me, that's powerful. That's loaded. First, I'm asking for peace. I'm asking for a calmness. I'm asking for an awareness. I'm asking for a presence for things that I can't change. Frankly, sometimes for me at least, I need to be honest with myself that I just can't change. There are things that I cannot change no matter how much effort I put into it. This is a silly example, but you know the people that say you can do anything you put your mind to. Well, is that true? Can you fly? Like if I just say, hey, you can put anything you put your mind to, you go outside and you just start flapping your wings and you fly away. Well, no human can do that, right? So there are certain things that we can't actually do because we're limited by our bodies, etc. But for some reason, I have a hard time believing this when it comes to people. Like if somebody has a bad opinion of me or they think differently of me than I want them to, or business just isn't going the way that I want, etc. For some reason, I still think that I can change it. Even when I can't, even when it's so obvious that I can't change it. Because frankly, sometimes people just don't like me, no matter what I do. I have a couple people in my life right now that I would say don't love me. They don't really even like me. Frankly, they might dislike me. It literally doesn't matter what I do. They just don't like me. And there's been several people like that where I've tried for years doing everything that I could possibly think of, and they still don't like me. And I would worry and fret and be stressed and anxious and just try to figure out, how do I change this person's perception? How do I make them like me? I used to be so concerned with that, about what everybody's thinking about me all the fucking time. And it's exhausting. Do you relate to that? Has that ever happened to you? Am I the only one? Do you ever get exhausted just trying to make sure that everyone feels okay about who you are and what you're doing and everything else? Do you relate to that at all? We talked about this a bit with codependency on a very recent podcast. Is there anyone that you really want to like you right now that just doesn't? Or maybe they just don't like you the way that you want them to? Maybe it's in a romantic way. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a friend's friend. Maybe it's a friend's girlfriend. Maybe it's a friend's boyfriend. Maybe it's a partner's partner. Whoever it is, they just don't like you the way that you wish they did, no matter what you do. Well, if that's you, you're not alone. You at least have one other person that's true of. That's me. I'm bearing my heart to you right now. And that's definitely true for me. It's definitely. So why do I bring that up? Well, it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to be at peace with the fact that I can't change this. I can't change this person's opinion about me. I can't change what's going to happen in the economy, or I can't change what's going to happen in the weather. There are several things in my life I cannot change. I cannot control, and it will drive you crazy. If you're a high control person and you're listening to this, I'm just letting you know, before you get a heart attack and die from it, just take a pause and just try, even if you don't believe in a God, try to just say this prayer out loud and see what it does for you. Just try to live it. Try to figure out, hey, if I could just have serenity with things that I can't control, what would that do to my life? What would that do to yours? Man, for me, it was such a load off when I first heard this. Because if I have serenity and peace and acceptance for things I can't change, do you feel that? For me, that brings a lot of peace. Just a beautiful way to live. I can be okay with what's happening. Now, that doesn't mean, what I'm not saying here is I'm accepting things that I could have some control over. This is just stuff I can't control. That feels so much better. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I can just be at peace. Oh, isn't that beautiful? That doesn't mean that I don't care. It means I'm at peace. I'm tranquil. I'm calm. I feel good about it. I'm present with my present reality. It's okay. It's all going to be okay. The world will still continue to spin. Whew. Breathe that in for a second. The next part says, give me courage to change the things I can. So, another question for you. Maybe ask you to be vulnerable again here for a second. Are you like me? Do you ever lack courage? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that lacks courage in the world, but I'm pretty sure it's the human experience. I definitely do. I'll just speak for myself. I definitely lack courage. There are times where if I can change something, I am willing to take the risk and have the courage to do it. And there are times where I don't want to. And I convince myself I don't need to do this. Or I minimize the fact that I have to have some courage to do this, or I deny it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it takes me longer to get there than I wish that it did. Sometimes I wish that I would have done it a week ago or a month ago or a year ago. What about you? So this is maybe a good moment to do this. Is there, again, just pause, close your eyes if you can. If you can't, don't leave them open. But just pause for a moment and just think about this for just a moment. This is important. Is there something you feel in your gut that you know you need to do right now that you're just not doing? Again, first thing that comes to your mind, is there something that you know in your gut, this is something I really should do and I'm not doing it? You got it? Is there anything that came to mind? Maybe it's the relationship with a friend or a loved one. Maybe it's a conversation that you need to have. Maybe it's a boundary that you need to set. Maybe it's just some love that you need to express. Maybe it's something at work where you're just dragging your feet. Maybe it's something with your kids, your parents, your grandparents. Something that I know I need to do this. This would be good for me. This would be good for other people. This would be helpful. This is in line with what I want from my life. What is that? We all have something. So just pause and don't listen to any more of this podcast until you think of something, because I promise you there's something. What is it in your gut, in your soul? There's something that you want to do right now or should do or know that you need to do. I don't want to should on you. You know you need to do. Okay, got it? Now, what's stopping you? What's stopping you? Is it a fear? Is it anxiety? Is it a concern? Is it that you're worried that a relationship will end? Is it that you're worried that a relationship will begin? Is it that you might lose your job? I don't know what it is. What is it? What's stopping you? What is it? Most likely it's a fear. Almost for sure it is a fear. So here's the next question. Is the fear real? What do I mean by that? All right, so story time. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day that was struggling doing something that they were really wanting to do. They committed to it. They said, hey, I'm going to do this. And they just couldn't get it done. And in fact, they were very committed in their heart to do it, but they just, in their head, but they just couldn't commit their body. They couldn't commit it to action. They just felt paralyzed. They really wanted to do it. It's really important to them. Just couldn't take the first step. You ever been there? Again, I was there. It took me a while to start this podcast because I was kind of paralyzed by it. I'm like, look, I've never done this. I've always done the other side of my brain. How do I do this side of the brain? And I just found some reason why it wasn't going to be perfect, so I wasn't going to start it. And here we are. And I'm so glad that I did it now. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever been paralyzed to do something or so fearful that you just never wanted to start, and then you just took a little teeny step and then another little teeny step and then another little teeny step, and then all of a sudden you're so happy that you took that initial little teeny step? Yeah, me too. So they were paralyzed by this action that they were not taking. And I told them that their fear, anxiety were very real emotions. Obviously, fear and anxiety are real emotions. But here's what I told them, and I think this might be helpful for you. That fear and that anxiety, while real emotions, almost for sure are not based in reality. So here's what I mean. Again, if you think about what you want to do that you're not doing yet, And then you think about the fear. For me, when I think about those fear and those emotions, what I think of is the fact that those emotions are real, but what are they based on? What is that fear based on? So let's start with this. If you want, go Google the definition of fear. Just write this in Google, quote, definition of fear, end quote, okay? Or look up in a dictionary if you want to do that. If you look it up in a dictionary, that's fantastic. Send me a picture. Who even has a dictionary? If you do, that's wonderful. So either way, go Google or look up the definition of fear, and you're going to get different definitions depending on which dictionary you use, etc. So here's the first point. We as humans can't even agree on what fear is because we can't even have the same definition of fear across the board. But in general, from when I did this before the podcast, they all seem to have the same gist. And here's the basic definition or the basic gist of fear. I'm actually going to quote the Collins Dictionary just because I like how succinct it is. And it's very similar to everything else that I read. Here's what it says. It says, quote, fear is the unpleasant feeling you have when you think that you are in danger. So again, fear is the unpleasant feeling you have when you think you're in danger. So let's break that down. First, let's agree. Fear is uncomfortable. It's an unpleasant feeling. It can definitely be very unpleasant. Unless you're a psychopath or don't feel regular emotions or somehow are just some person that never feels fear, you know that you've had fear, just like me, that is unpleasant. It's an unpleasant feeling. So I think it's realistic for the dictionary to say that fear is an unpleasant feeling, at least for me. Even if I'm willing to overcome that fear and be courageous and everything else, it's still an unpleasant feeling. Okay, agreed? We agree with that? Fear is an unpleasant feeling, okay? But here's the part that really sticks out to me in this definition. It's the unpleasant feeling when you think you're in danger. Did you notice that it says when you think you're in danger? Fear is the unpleasant feeling you have when you think that you're in danger. So you don't have to be in danger. You just have to think that you are in danger. So let's use an example. Let's say, as many people use the example of fear, you're in the middle of a desert in Africa by yourself. You have no weapons, no one's with you, no vehicles, and you're staring face to face with a lion, and that lion is hungry, and they have not had food in a while, and they're right in front of you, and there's nowhere to hide. Are you scared? I mean, I would certainly think you would be. I personally would be literally shitting my pants in that circumstance. Wouldn't you? I mean, who's not scared staring at a lion with nothing? And I'm not saying you're a lion tamer and there's a fence and there's a person next to you and you have a dart gun with you that you can shoot, etc. You're just face to face with a lion. I'd be shitting my pants. That is real fear. That is not you just think that there's something to be afraid of. No, there is something to be afraid of. So fear is real. That's real fear. I don't know if there's anyone that would say that that fear wasn't valid. Can we agree on that? So fear does exist. But why do I bring that up? Because most of the fear I hear about when I talk to people is like the fear I heard from my buddy. It's imaginary. There's no basis in reality. Or if there is, there's very little basis in reality. What are some examples of this? Well, what if she thinks this? Or what if he says that? Or what if they don't like me anymore? Or what if I offend them? Or what if I don't get that promotion? Or what if my kid doesn't make the team? Or what if I get fired? Or what if I never find success? Or on and on and on and on. Have you ever been stuck in this loop? I sure have. Holy shit, I find myself in this loop sometimes, even about this podcast, as I've mentioned before. I know it's part of my mission on this planet. I'm fully convinced of this. I know why I'm here. And I will continue to do this podcast. You'll be listening to this a year from now. I will still be doing this podcast. I will still have my company. My book will be out by then. My screenplay will almost be done by then. Because I know that this is why I'm on the the planet to do. I'm fully convinced, but I still find myself in that insecurity loop. What if this happens? Or what if this doesn't happen? Or what if it doesn't happen fast enough or according to my timeline, etc.? So by definition, that is fear too, right? Because it's something that I think I'm afraid of. But isn't that different? I mean, all of that is based on a fiction. We don't know what they're going to say or what they're going to do or what they're going to think or what's going to happen. No one can predict the future. If you can, let me know. But none of us know what will happen. We think we do. We might have evidence to suggest might happen, but none of us know what's going to happen, ever. So again, back to the definition, it's the unpleasant fear is the unpleasant feeling when you think you're in danger. You don't have to be in danger. Our brains are really powerful. Have you noticed? We can think we're in danger when we're not in danger. Have you ever had a fear? Let me just prove it to you in a very simple way. Have you ever had a fear where you knew something was going to happen and you just knew how it was all going to turn out and you were scared shitless of it and then it never fucking happened? I mean, come on. I'm not the only one that's had that experience. So why is that important when we're talking about 2.0? Well, I don't know about you, but every time I've had to move on to 2.0, I've needed courage and I've needed to overcome some sort of fear that I had. Do you ever find yourself not trying because of something that might happen? I sure do. There's plenty of times where I'm like, well, that might happen, so I'm scared. I'm not going to try it. Of course, we all do that. But let me help you with something. The next time this happens, here's what I would encourage you to do, okay? So first of all, think about the fact that something might happen, but start with this. How likely is it to happen? Okay? So I have an exercise for you. Are you ready? We're going to get a little woo-woo here for a second. All right. So again, close your eyes if you can. If you can't, if you're driving or something, obviously don't do that. It might be a little tough. But close your eyes if you can. Don't close your eyes if you're going to get in trouble, you're going to get hurt, or you're going to get somebody else hurt and then try to sue me because you're driving. Okay. Either way, focus for a moment. If you're listening to this and you're doing 8 million other things, put all the 8 million other things away for just a moment. Okay. Just a moment. Okay. Close your eyes, or at least just focus in as well as you can. Think of something that you're scared of or something that you have fear of that might happen right now. So something present, something that you think, hey, in the future, this might happen. First thing that comes to mind, don't overthink it again. What are you scared might happen? What do you have fear of? What keeps you up at night? What have you been worrying about? I might lose my job. I might get cut back in work. My kid might get hurt playing the sport. Whatever. It doesn't, anything. What do you have a fear of right now? Or what are you scared that might happen? Okay. Try to think of something more close to now too, not something like, 100 years in the future. Okay. You have something? You have something you've been worrying about, something you're scared of, something you're fearful of? Okay, great. You should have something by now. If you don't, that's okay. But if you don't, that's just because you're overthinking it. We all have something. We all have something. It was the moment I asked the question, I thought of things. Okay. I thought of like, this is not going to be successful, or I'm not going to be successful doing this, etc. Those are words to use as well. Okay. First thing that comes to mind. All right. Anyway, now think about what would realistically happen if that thing happened. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're thinking, I'm scared I might lose my job. Okay. That could be valid. There could be a bunch of cutbacks at work. I literally just talked to a buddy that got laid off today through no fault of his own, according to him, but probably of no fault of his own. They just had to make cutbacks at work, and he ended up being one of those cutbacks. So there's very valid reasons for that. So if that's your example, I'm scared I might lose my job. That's valid. Why are you scared of that? Is there anything that points to that being likely or probable? Even a remote possibility? Okay, great. So do you have the why? Why might you lose your job? Or why might you worry about not having a good relationship with your children? Or why are you worried about that new business not succeeding? Whatever the why is, okay? Do you have it? Great. Now think about the worst thing that could realistically happen if that occurred. So for me, what's the worst thing that could happen if I lost my job? What's the worst thing that could happen if you don't have that relationship with your kids? What's the worst thing that could happen if that business fails? Would you not be able to pay for groceries to feed your kids? Would you lose your relationships at your job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Answer this honestly. Maybe even stop this if you're listening to a recording and just jot a few things down. What's the worst thing realistically that could happen? Would your life end? Literally. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean literally. Is your life literally over? Now, maybe so. Maybe you're talking about going into a war zone and you might get shot in the head and you might die. Okay, that's your life might end. For the rest of us, most likely it's not something where your life is going to end. If it is something and there's some concern about other people's safety, then I would say call the appropriate authorities and, let them know. But for most of us, the answer is no. Our life is not going to be over. Could something be challenging or difficult? Sure. So, what's the worst case scenario? Answer honestly. Have you been through something like this before? So back to my example, let's say I'm worried about losing my job. Well, have I lost a job before? Sure, I have. What happened after? Well, I eventually found another job. Otherwise, I wouldn't be worried about losing my job, right? Think about that for a second. A lot of the times, the things that we're worried about are based on past experiences that we've already worked through. Let me say that again. A lot of the times, the things that we're fearful of or worried about are based on past experiences that we've already worked through. So again, back to the job example, let's say I'm worried about losing my job because of the fact that I lost my job before because something changed in the economy. Well, guess what? I have a job, which means I figured that out before. I lost my job before, and then I figured out how to get a new job, and now I'm worried about losing this job. But guess what? What are the odds? The odds are, well, if I lost this job, I find another job, right? Maybe I was uncomfortable. Maybe I was broke. Maybe I had to get food stamps to feed my kids, whatever. But did I die? No, because I'm still here. Aren't you still here? If it happened before, aren't you here? You're listening to this podcast. I don't think I'm talking to a bunch of ghosts. So you made it through last time. Was it painful? Was it difficult? Sure, it may have been. But here's the important part here. Why am I talking about this right now? Because I want you to see that you made it through. I made it through. We made it through. And guess what? You'll make it through again. So a while ago, I heard this at a conference that I went to, and it really resonated with me. The speaker said, "The worst almost never happens, and if it does, we'll deal with it then." Amen. What a great saying. The worst almost never happens, and if it does, we'll deal with it then. That's fantastic, right? Why? I'll just, again, speak for myself, but I would ask you to ask the same question to yourself. Why are we spending so much damn energy on thinking about things that might happen? Let me ask you a question. If you think about something or you have fear or anxiety of something that might happen, does that help your present situation? Is there ever a situation where you worry about or have fear of something that might happen and that actually helps your present situation? I'd say probably not. Could it help the present situation because you're thinking about it and you're trying to figure out ways of dealing with a problem that might show up? Oh, sure. Of course. We always want plans and to figure things out. But stressing or worrying or being fearful or anxious about something that might possibly happen in the future that most likely will not happen is not going to help the present situation, right? Hell no. So, why do I bring all this up talking about fear? For me, moving from 1.0 and letting that fucker die to move on to 2.0 always takes courage. It always takes courage. So what's the next part of the Serenity Prayer? Just as you remember, let's just say the whole thing again, just to kind of keep it fresh on your mind. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Then the next part is courage to change the things I can. Have you ever heard the expression, you don't know unless you try? Or you won't know unless you try? My grandpa used to say that all the time. And I love that expression because it's so damn honest. How are you going to know unless you try? How could you actually know what will happen if you don't try? I convince myself of this all the time, that I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly how that's going to turn out. I know how that conversation is going to go. I know how that business is going to go. I know how that event is going to go. And it never does, because none of us know the future. But I convince myself that I know how things are going to occur when I don't even try. Do you relate? Do you relate at all? If you do, let's work on this together. Or let me ask you, are you willing to work on this with me? If you are, shoot me a note, because I'm willing to work on it. Are you willing to work on it with me? Can we try to stop worrying and fretting and being fearful and anxious about fears of the future that aren't even based on any reality at all? I'm part of what's happening in the country that I record this podcast from, which is the great United States of America. I love this country for a lot of reasons, and I very much have a hard time with it for a lot of other reasons. But it's my heritage. It's where I was born. I love it. I'll be as patriotic as I can and not sit by when I think bad things are happening as well. But the only reason I mention that is that while you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to it when it first comes out, we're in a very heated political season where we are in the process of electing our next president. And a lot of people, myself included, would say that both of the people that are most likely to win, oh man, couldn't we find somebody better? But this is not a podcast about politics, so we'll leave that one alone for now. But why do I bring that up? Why I bring that up is that during this season, every single time I see lots of people having all these fears and anxiety and stress. What if Y gets elected? What if Z gets elected? Whoever that is, it doesn't matter. The whole world is going to end if they get elected. Really? That's what you thought last time. And did the world end? And are you still alive? No, it did not end. And yes, you are still alive. So is that even worth it? Let's just focus back on the Serenity Prayer for a second. Can we just have the courage to do whatever we can do today? Just today, not even tomorrow. Let's just focus on today. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Let's just focus on right fucking now. What can you do right now to progress to where you want to progress? What can I do right now to progress to where I want to progress? Maybe for me, it starts with just being honest with myself and where I'm at. For me, it starts with taking one step towards what scares me. One step towards that fear that I know is not going to kill me, that I just don't want to do. I don't feel comfortable with because I feel more comfortable just not taking the step. And honestly, maybe it's just telling your inner thoughts to shut the fuck up for 2 seconds. You ever in that spot where you're just spiraling? I mean, maybe this just happens to me, but just that time where it's just spiraling in your head and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And you're just like, okay, we just need a moment to stop. How do I find that courage for the things that I can change in my life? All right. So let's move on to the next and final part of the initial part of the Serenity Prayer. Okay, let me reread it again, just for everybody's knowledge. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that last part for me has been really helpful moving to 2.0. The wisdom to know the difference. Are you ever confused at what you can change and what you can't? Are you ever so desperate to change something that you don't want to admit there's nothing you can do to change it? I know I sure have been many times in my life. I've been there more times than I can count. I can make this happen. I can make this person like me. I can make this situation change. But frankly, I can't. If I'm honest with myself, I can't do it. Sometimes I just can't. And that's okay. I'm not the eternal ruler of the universe, are you? Sometimes I don't have wisdom because I'm in denial, or I'm just minimizing what's really going on. Although that's not actually going on, so I'll be fine. Sometimes I just don't want to accept what's going on, right? I just don't want to have acceptance of whatever my reality is. Sometimes I just want to bury my head in the sand, or I want to fight with every fiber in my being. Sometimes I'm just not okay with my reality. Do you resonate? Are you ever not okay with your reality and just want something different? Of course you do. I do. We're all human. We're all in this together. So how do I get wisdom to know the difference? Well, again, from my experience, wisdom comes from people that have experienced something similar and learned from it. So again, we're not talking about the people that have to have success from this. Just somebody's experienced it before. Maybe they're still in the middle of it. Like me. Welcome again, derelict. You're in good company. I'm right in the middle of trying to figure this stuff out. I'm right in the middle of trying to figure out a shit ton of stuff in my life. Welcome. So let's go back to the original question. You might have even forgot what it was because we went off on a long tangent on the Serenity Prayer. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, check out the show notes. There'll be a note of the Serenity Prayer. You can go and read it and check it out yourself as well. So let's go back to the original question. Can you ever really start over? Well, obviously not. It's impossible to start over. We can't just, get rebirthed or something and know everything that we know now. So how do you move forward? How do I move forward? Well, for me, it's been trying to figure out, is this something that I should rebuild, repair, reform, or is it something I need to kill or let die? Learning to have peace because I can't change something, or the courage to try and change it. Now a word from our sponsors. All right, so here's the deal. I know this episode and the last one are not titled Serenity Prayer and You, but it's just so applicable, don't you think? So let me just read a little more of the Serenity Prayer this time. It'll be worth it, okay? As we are talking about what version 2.0 of ourselves looks like and how to live now, let me just read a little bit more. So here you go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time. All right, let me read the new part again, okay? Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time. Wow. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes on presence, I'd really encourage you to do so. Maybe even before you continue on in this episode. Episode 2 was a guide to staying present, and I believe it was episode 10 was emotional presence. Those are good places to start, in my extremely humble opinion. But both of those related to different aspects of being present. The first one was just, where do we start when we want to stay present? And the last one is more specifically on emotionally, how can I stay present? So in all seriousness, please check them out and let me know what you think. Okay, back to the quote. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time. Living and enjoying just this moment, just today. For me, that's the essence of Josh 2.0. Just living here, now, accepting what is now, accepting what's in front of me, putting down my phone and just being present. Just being. So here's my encouragement. I'd really encourage you to try this. Maybe even right now if you can. Ready? Okay. Go somewhere public. Obviously, I'm not public. I'm here in my podcast studio. But go somewhere public. Maybe you already are somewhere public. Maybe you're listening in your AirPods or wherever. Go somewhere public, okay? And if you can't do this now, maybe do it later. Go somewhere public, a coffee shop, a restaurant, airport, train station, bus stop, mall, wherever. Just somewhere that has people, preferably lots of people. Sit down and do nothing. So first, just sit there and just be present in the very moment. Try to get rid of all the extra thoughts that are telling you to check something or look at a phone or whatever. Just be present in your own body. Understand kind of where you're at. Don't take out your phone. Don't talk to anyone. Don't look at your computer. Don't look at your watch. Just be present. Preferably have everything in do not bother me mode so that you don't get distracted, okay? Just observe for a second. So now I want you to do something. I want you to observe. What do you see? Here's my guess. My guess is there are people chatting about, talking to each other, not being present. Not everyone, but my guess is the majority of the people that you see are going to be on their phone, computer, watch, taking a video, taking a picture, being an influencer, not fully present in whatever situation they're in, whether they're by themselves or not. Whatever it is that they're doing something to escape their present reality. Maybe you even see somebody with a virtual reality headset on. The ultimate example of not being in our present reality. The whole concept itself is called virtual reality because it's not present reality. So take note of it. Take note of whether the majority of the people you see are being fully present with where they are, who they're with, etc., or if there are people not being fully present. And I bet that even if you listen to the people, if you can, tune in on people's conversation, I have a feeling that even the people that seem like they're being really present with each other are not. I bet if you listen to those people that even seem present, many of them are not. Maybe of them are thinking of the next thing they'll say in the conversation, or they're half involved in the conversation. They're thinking about something else. They're distracted. They're the opposite of present. Can you feel it? So if you are doing this, what do you feel? Is it surprising to you? Are more people distracted than you expected? If you're not actually doing this presently, but you're listening to this, are you surprised by how many people you think are actually listening? Were you distracted, and did you not just hear anything I said and you had to rewind and listen to the whole thing all over again? Pinnacle of podcasts, right? Not even listening to what's happening and being distracted by 5 other things and doing it all at the exact same time. Can you feel it? When was the last time you felt like you were truly present in the moment you're in? Just take a deep breath for a second and just try to be here for a moment. I'm trying to get the stuff out of my mind. There's meat cooking on my smoker upstairs. I had some other food that I was cooking earlier. I haven't checked my phone for quite a while because I've been recording. Been thinking about the fact that I want something more to drink. I'm thirsty. I want to go in my hot tub later. There's a million things I need to do for the podcast and social media updates and everything else. And I'm trying to get rid of all of that from my head and just be here with you right now. Just try to be as present as possible in this moment. Okay? Can you feel it? Can you feel what it feels like to be present? Have you experienced this before? Have you experienced distraction before? As we talked about on the previous 2 episodes, holy shit, staying present is difficult. So for me, how do I live one day at a time and enjoy one moment at a time? Well, right now I'm trying to enjoy this moment with you. I'm trying to enjoy this moment, picturing your face, picturing how you're hearing these words and how it's impacting you. And that's helping me stay present. And the only way that I found to do that is to try to just observe how I'm feeling and where I am this exact moment, not even thinking about what I'm doing an hour from now, 10 minutes from now, a day from now, a year from now. I just feel so present with you right now. And thank you for being present with me. It's an honor. I can feel it. Can you feel it? I hope you can. So, again, if you want more on staying present, go listen to the previous 2 episodes. We're not going to say anything more about it right now because we did quite a bit of talk in those. One thing that I just will mention briefly, and I'm not even sure if I will have a resource in the resource notes from this or not, but one of my favorite present teachers is Eckhart Tolle. Pretty much pick up anything that he writes, says, speeches, etc. If you ever get a chance to listen to him in person, it's incredible. It's just like listening to a wise old sage up top. So check out Eckhart Tolle for things to help you stay present. Obviously, there's a lot of Buddhist practices about staying present, meditation, etc. There's a lot of different things about staying present. Start with our podcast, though. Maybe there's give you some examples. Or if you want some more resources for staying present, again, shoot me a message. I'll send you some things that aren't even on the podcast. You get special things because you took the risk or had the courage or took the initiative to send me a message. All right. So back to our question. What does version 2.0 look like? How do I kill that 1.0 version and move on to 2.0? Well, one for me, again, is living now. It's living in the present. It's being here. It's being available. It's being available for whatever is happening right now in my life. The second piece of it for me is being vulnerable and being okay being in the midst of failure. Hence, welcome to the Derelict Podcast. But guess what? If we're being present, we have no choice but to be present with our failures and what makes us vulnerable, right? Do you feel that? Is there any other way to do it? If I'm being present with myself, I have no choice but to be present with my failures and be present with what makes me feel vulnerable. So I have to constantly ask myself this question: am I ready to do that? How do I feel about being vulnerable? How do you feel about being vulnerable? Will you go on a short journey with me? This will be quick. So I'm already going to assume that you're part of this tribe, which is why you're listening. Assuming you didn't get tricked into listening to this episode, and if you did, welcome. But if you didn't, you saw a podcast about being vulnerable and real in the midst of failures in real time, and you came anyway. That tells me you've probably found some success in your life, maybe through money, fame, relationships, business, or something else, some sort of success. And you've also experienced failure, setback, trauma, triggering event, divorce, bankruptcy, business failure, failure with your kid, relationship failure, something you didn't want to get into, something that didn't go the way you wanted it to. And guess what? You're still here, aren't you? I am. Because here's the deal. If we're really wanting to be vulnerable in the midst of failure, here's the good news. Failures don't end us. Again, there might be an extreme example where a failure could end you, right? You miss shooting somebody in war, they shoot you, you're dead. Okay, got it. Most failures, the majority of the failures that we face, do not end us. They do not end our lives. In fact, they are required for true success. Don't you agree? Have you ever met anyone with any measure of success, however you want to define that term, that didn't fail several times before they got it? So why here? Why now? Well, I'll tell you, my vision is to have a tribe of people willing to do this together. As my good friend said the other day, she said this tribe was like learning the process of self-actualization together. I thought that was a really good word. Have you had a place like this before? I mean, I know for myself too, and for a lot of people, they have found vulnerability and being able to be in the midst of failure through maybe a church or religious tradition, a 12-step group, therapy, group think, retreats, etc. But did that do it for you? I mean, I've tried pretty much anything I could think of under the sun, and has it helped to a degree? Yeah, sure. But a lot of the times what I've found is that it only helps to a degree for who's in the room, how willing they are to be vulnerable and open with what's going on with them. And most of the time, it has to do with something specific. Like you go to a 12-step group, if you're an alcoholic, as an example, you want to stop drinking alcohol, you want to be sober, you want to do recovery. Everyone gets alcohol there. That's great. Do they get other things that you're failing with? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they don't relate to that because it's outside of the scope of that group. So my goal here with this podcast and this business and everything that we're starting is to do this together. Because for me, every one of those places, I still felt like I had to keep a mask on. Do you relate to that? Even if it's a small one. Do you feel like at least pretty much everywhere you go, you at least have to have some sort of a mask? Well, guess what? There's no masks allowed here. No masks. Let's just get real. Let's be vulnerable. Let's realize that failure is just another opportunity to learn. How amazing is that? So as you already know, this podcast isn't a 3-step formula that will remove all problems from your life. It's getting real with the failure we all face and learning from each other. Again, welcome. I'm saying welcome at the end of the episode because welcome to vulnerability. Welcome to being in the midst of failure together and realizing it's okay. The life's not going to end. We'll be fine. We'll get through this. So what does that leave? Well, how do we get vulnerable? Well, let's ask yourself that question. I just spent this entire episode and the last episode and the episode before and the episode before that trying to be vulnerable. Did I succeed? I don't know. Let me know. Maybe I didn't. Maybe you send me an email and you're like, you suck at being vulnerable. Okay, great. What can I do better? Let me know. If I failed, Bring it on. Great. Just chalk it up to more learnings. I mean, I'm at a point in my life now where let's do it, man. Let's fail. Let's fail together. Because if we don't and we can't figure it out, then what's the point of living? I mean, oh man, there's too many things to figure out in this world. Why would we not want to figure things out and maybe take a little risk and fail a little bit, right? Do you resonate with that? You know, as we've said on this podcast many a time before, someone always has to get naked first. What does that mean? Somebody has to be vulnerable first. Have you ever been in a group of people and somebody finally said something that was deep or meaningful or powerful, and then all of a sudden other people started saying the same thing? Or they started saying similar things? Because once that one person ripped off the Band-Aid, they took their clothes off, they exposed themselves, they said, hey, here's my scary thing that I don't want to share, then everybody else all of a sudden was like, oh, I have a scary thing too. I'm willing to share that also. I'm really hoping that this podcast is a spot for you to do that. I want to hear from you. Send us a note. Tell us what you're scared of being vulnerable with. What's keeping you from getting naked? Is it fears? And is it, more importantly, is it fears based in fantasy? Is there any reality to those fears that you have? I'm not saying the fears aren't real, they are. But what's going to happen from those fears? Is that real? Or is that just based in pure fantasy? Are you like me where you just make up all this shit in your head of things that are going to happen and then it doesn't happen? Is it a continuance of what ifs flowing constantly through your head? So how about this? Why not start? How about both of us? Why can't we just start today? All of us, everyone listening. Why can't we just start today? Why can't we just take the next step together? You willing to do that with me? Whatever the next step is. Let's not think about 10 years from now, a year from now, even a week tomorrow, even tomorrow. What is your next step right now? What is your next step right now for what you want in your life? Well, for me, it's staying present in this podcast and not even thinking about what's next. What's next? I'm going to get some food. I'm going to reach out to people, etc. So I'm already thinking about it. But more importantly, what's next for me is finishing this off strong and giving you some things to think about that I hope are really going to impact your life. But what's your next step right now? Maybe it's calling a friend. Maybe it's shooting us an email like we talked about several times. See the show notes. Send us a note. Maybe it's just shooting us a message or shooting a text to a friend saying that you're going to try to do something. Just try it. Guess what? Just by sending that message or that text, you did the next best thing. So for me, would you do me a favor, please? Take a moment and just write down one thing you'll do right now to move forward. And do it right now. Just do it. You got this. One thing you'll do right after you stop listening, right now. One thing you'll do right now, and just do it. You got this. We're here together. We're here for you. Shoot me a note if you want. Would love to hear whatever it is that you wrote down, whatever you did. But just write down one thing and just commit to it. Just say, hey, this is the next thing I'm doing right now. Wow. It has been such a pleasure talking with all of you. I'm really, really enjoying doing this podcast, and I'm really enjoying where it's leading. I'm really enjoying dealing with these issues of failure and everything real time. Right, we're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of the fucking failures all together, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share with you. Thanks for being on this journey with me, with us, with the Derelict Tribe. Please, if you're not a part of the tribe yet, do me a favor, like, subscribe, rate the episode, rate the show, reach out to us. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Let us know if there's a subject you want us to talk about. Let us know if there's a person that you want to hear. We've had several guests. We'll have more. Or maybe just send this to someone. Maybe send this podcast to someone, somebody that's going through a rough time right now, somebody that doesn't see a clear sight to the other side. Maybe somebody that is dealing with vulnerability, being in the midst of failure, trying to figure out how to get rid of 1.0 to get 2.0. Maybe someone that just needs a hug, a virtual hug. Would you just send it to one person for me? Would you do that? So just whoever comes to your mind first. And again, we can't grow this tribe without you. And wouldn't it be amazing to have a huge tribe of derelicts being honest and facing our fucking failures in real time together? It will happen. I'm convinced of it. I'm so excited for it to happen. I hope you are too. Please join us on the journey. Reach out to us. Let us know you're here. Rate the episode. Pass it on. So what's next? Good question. Let's see what strikes the mood this next week. As usual, if you'd like to hear a certain topic or join us on the show, shoot us a message. Our email is in the show notes. Like, rate, subscribe. Thank you very much. Until next time, see you later, you derelict.